Hey guys, welcome to my channel, welcome to my stream, and yet another chapter. I believe it's chapter 3 now. Working on this guy here, the A-10 Thunderbolt 2 by Great Wall Hobbies, 1/48 scale. We'll get that intro going. Alright guys, so we have kind of finished up our cockpit. I did decide in the end to actually install the seat. Normally I don't install the seats until like really at the end of the build, because I wind up having to put the model onto its top, and usually that would mean it rests on the seat. Usually there's a couple of little delicate railings or something like that that can get touched or bent or whatever. In this case, this seems to be fairly solid in there, and I'm just imagining sitting on a flat piece like that, sitting down like that. I don't think there's anything that's going to break off. So having that seat actually might be a good thing in the end. So we'll see, right? Anyway, so that is done. That's all ready to go. That's good for installation. I did do a little bit of painting, just a little bit on the next few pieces that we're going to assemble now. Bear with me a moment here. I gotta get this set up. Okay. So I got about an hour, and so we're gonna do working on this. I'll change the camera and we can get started. Okay. Let's see here. So again, last time got all this done. This is step 3. Got all this finished up. Okay, so this is done. Next, flipping over the page, it looks like we're doing our HUD, okay? And I see I need to paint 015 and 05. I don't think I did. Oh yeah, I did. Yes. Okay. But we're going to work on these first, okay? Now these are Q10 and 11. These are off of our clear tree, okay? So where's my clear tree? I just had it a moment ago. Here it is. Okay. So I painted these black, because they're supposed to be black, they're not supposed to be clear. So what they did, Great Wall Hobbies, in knowing that this piece here needed to be clear, they just molded it as one piece instead of just giving you a flat clear piece like most guys do. Most companies will give you this would be molded in a color, and these two pieces, and then you make a sandwich, and then you put your clear piece on top. What Great Wall Hobbies did is they just molded this as one piece, which kind of makes it a little bit difficult for painting, but I managed to mask that off, and then I just sprayed it with some flat black. And so we'll put those two together just like they're showing here. Okay, first I'm going to change my glasses before we actually get into any of this. Okay, so we'll get these off of the sprue. I'm going to be careful where I cut here. There we go. And here. Now they show a little bit of a base, but there really isn't. I guess there is a base, it's just bigger than what they show. So I'm just going to clean this up on the bottom here. Get that flat. Okay, it's getting this the way it's supposed to be. Same with this one. Now, because of my constraints on there, I didn't get to paint the bottom of this one, but that's okay. We'll glue these two together and then we'll see what needs to be painted. So basically, go like this, and then we've got our HUD in between, just like it's supposed to be. Okay, so let's get this lined up just like that. At least I think that's lined up. Yep. Glue on there. Okay, There we go. So you can see how that's going to look now with the clear piece in there, right? Of course, I've got to get in there and paint that part, the bottom part too. Although I don't know, once I got it sit down on top of there, it might not be noticeable. We'll see. We will see. Okay. Okay. So that's that. Next we have Q3. Now they want Q3 painted silver. Q3 is this guy here. So I'm going to just grab my silver paint. I did not get him painted yet. So I'll just paint him this. I don't think it's supposed to be chrome. So I'll paint him with my, what is this? LP48 sparkling silver, I think it is. Yep, sparkling silver. This is the most silvery silver that I think Tamiya makes, from what I have seen. It's the brightest silver that I have seen out of the Tamiya line of any of their paints. There we go. Okay, that's silver now. We're basically just going to be assembling this thing and then putting it aside. So not actually installing it, but we've got to put all the pieces together. Okay, so while that silver is drying, we're going to grab N7 and put him here. Okay, on the little notch in the back of this, back here. N7 is a really small piece that I've already painted black. It's right there. It looks, it's nice that they blow it up big for you so you can really see what it looks like. Because these tiny little pieces are a little bit hard to determine, like how it's supposed to go in, what direction it's supposed to sit in. It basically just sits, it looks like it sits down on top of this. One thing that's kind of nice, they show a little black outline here as if that's where it's supposed to sit. So not actually in this little groove, but just on top. Of course, they've really exaggerated the groove on here. The groove is very, very, very subtle. So this just sits down on top like this, in there, like that. So I'm just going to put a little glue on top of that and then just kind of put it in there. I know it's really hard for you guys to see exactly what I'm doing here. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is. With these really small parts. So let's put a little glue there. And then pick this up in the right direction. And I can just kind of put them down there. Whoops. Put them down on there. And then use my tweezers to kind of slide him into the spot he's supposed to be. Of course, he's supposed to stick to the thing and not my tweezers. And it's supposed to be straight, not crooked. Here we go, it's in place. Sort of. definitely wants to be crooked. I'm going to have to add more glue because I'm moving them around so much to get them lined up. Okay. A little bit extra thin on there. Okay, I finally got them in place. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the underside of here on this side that I wasn't able to paint while it was on the sprue. Just going to touch up that one little spot there. Kind of just under here. So I don't want to see clear when I look down through. I don't want to see that it's clear there. So got to put some paint on there. Okay. Now our little silver piece should be dry now. And we can put him in his little hole. And once we've done that, okay, there's the Q3. And he's going to go in the hole of the bottom of this. Right in that hole there. So we're going to do a test fit. It's tight. It's a tight fit. There we go. I actually don't need glue. I don't need any glue on that because of how tight a fit that is. And there we go. Just so you can see what I'm talking about there. So, it just fits into the bottom there. Okay, now that's done. We have this guy here. This is our O15 and O5. So what I did, where's my O tree? What I did is I took O5 and put it on O15. Okay, it's right there, and I glued it in there, and then I painted it as an assembly. Okay, just painted the whole thing. One thing that's nice about this is they have it undergated, so the sprue's actually attached on the underside here instead of the side. From this side it looks like it's attached on the side, but it's not. It's actually attached underneath. And when I clip this from underneath, this is where it's going to come apart, like this. This is what they talk about undergating, like that. Okay. The advantage of this is you don't have any visible nubs on the sides. It's underneath here. So we can clean this off. Just clean this edge, and all of a sudden our nubs disappear. So we have nothing to clean up on the edges. It's just underneath where you're never going to see. Ain't nobody gonna see. And now our edges are nice and perfectly painted and everything nice and clean and clear. Okay. Now we've got a couple of decals. B3, 2, 3, and 4 are supposed to go across here. I'll do those later. For now, we're going to put our HUD down on top. It's going to go in right there. So get that lined up. It's going to go in just like this. It looks like it actually sits up above and kind of floats a little bit. That's what it looks like. Kind of like that. So I've got the bottom piece, that round piece going through there, and is flush. And that's how that sits. Okay, so let's put some glue in there and get this guy secured in. And then we will put it all aside. Okay, so I'll put this aside. She's all done, except for the 3 decals that gotta go there. I'm done with this. This is gonna be put aside now. Put it there. And now we can work on step 6, which is our front landing gear bay. Okay, I have these pieces already painted on the sprue. The I believe it is the IGN Gray XF87. XF87 is the color I chose, which matches. I did some research online matching up the color it's supposed to be, and that's to me is color that matches the closest that I could tell. So we're going to grab our C tree, or sorry, not our C tree, our I tree, our I. Grab my eye again. As you can see, the difference in the color compared to the gray primer. So I 17, 26, 22, 18, 31, 37. Whole bunch. It's 26. We'll get these off of here and get them cleaned up. 26. Now here's 37. It's the other wall. And we've got 31, which is our, in the picture you'd think it's the floor, but it's actually the ceiling or roof, whatever you want to call it. This is a big nub here. There we go. Okay, so our 3 main ones. Now we need 17, which is our little back wall. And then we need our front wall, I-22. Where are you, 22? You're way over here all on your own. And finally we need number 18, which goes in the middle. 13. My 18 seems to be missing. Because it's N18, not I18. Which means this is not painted, because I haven't painted anything on the N tree. N18 right there. I'm going to have to paint that. I'm going to paint it on the sprue. I painted the rest of this stuff with the airbrush, but brush paint this guy. He's just a little minor detail. There we go. Okay, we'll let that dry. by the time I got these all cleaned up, it should be ready for installation. We gotta clean up our nubs, otherwise you don't clean the nubs up and the thing won't fit together properly. So it's very important you clean your nubs. Everything's got to be flush. Parts like this where the nub is on the little tab, that's not necessarily going to interfere, but maybe when you put this inside the fuselage might have such close tolerances that if you don't clean up this nub, you can't close the fuselage. So sometimes these manufacturers build them to those kind of tolerances where it all kind of fits perfectly together, super tight, but you never know until you get it assembled. So it's just a good practice. Clean up all your nubs, no matter what. Even when it's on a tab that you're never going to see it, but it might interfere with assembly. Got no nub on that side. That's a nice. Okay, so that is all those pieces. So we can put our back wall in. Looks like we can do this first. Put this down into this little tab here. Like that. That seems simple enough. It's kind of interesting that they make you put this back wall in when they could very well have just molded it in with this wall. But it is what it is, as they say. I'm just going to do this. Whoops. Just going to drop it. Yeah. Just do that and kind of hold it so it's nice and tight against the back. Let that glue set for a minute. And we'll look at the front. This one goes with the tab facing down. It's going to go in here like this. But we're going to put this wall in. Okay? And that's going to be this one going in. We're going to line up our tab, our little notch here with this tab like this. Like that. We actually got to get this rear tab goes into the hole, which means my little clip has to go away. I've got a little bit of goobers on my tab here. It just doesn't want to fit. They did a pretty good job at getting this thing to sit pretty close to how it's supposed to go, except for this problem here. So why is it doing that? It's catching on this edge. There we go. So that wall sits pretty snug in there. There isn't really a lot of play in this. Just really nice. I'm going to do the front wall now. The front wall should tab in right there like this, just like so. So we can put some glue on that. It's kind of like a puzzle, you know? Once you get the correct piece, it kind of just goes together very nicely. Now at this point, this is the point where I want to start adding a little bit of weathering detail on the inside of this thing. Because once I put this wall on, it suddenly is going to be difficult to get in there with a brush or a Q-tip or anything to clean up and get in there. So I don't want to put this wall in yet. What I want to do is get some panel liner and get in there and do some detail on it. They do show you how everything is supposed to look and line up once it's all finished, especially this piece here that gets lined up for little holes here and here, right? On this particular wall facing this direction, they point out that our N18 goes into the bottom hole, not this upper one, right? So I'm going to get my Tamiya panel liner. I'm going to go with black. I always go with black because it just makes the detail pop more, even if it isn't 100% accurate on how dirty it's supposed to be. It does help when you're looking at it. It just looks that much better. So get in there and go into all these little cracks. And I don't leave it for too long. Because if I leave it for too long, it becomes really kind of hard to clean up out of there. Okay, so there's one wall. All this nice detail down in here on the floor. You want to be able to see that when you look, you know, if you have a peek underneath the plane. You want to be able to see it. And see that it's there. Now, you guys with a keen eye, you might have noticed my panel liner is kind of getting absorbed into the paint a little bit. The reason it's being absorbed and not just running on top is because I don't have a gloss coat over this. The color on this paint is XF, which means it's a flat color. And therefore, it likes to kind of absorb this panel liner rather than just have it run on top, which makes to clean it up is a little bit difficult, but it's not impossible. But what that also means is I don't want to flood it with the panel liner. Okay, there we go. And just because we have our part over here, I want to do this too. There's a little bit of detail that's on this part. There we go, just for consistency. So now, what do we clean it up? Well, that's an enamel. The panel liner is an enamel, and so it gets cleaned up with white spirits. Okay. Now this happens to be AK's odorless thinner for enamel products, right? Yeah, really. And they also have this stuff, the white spirit. Okay. So what I do is this will have a minute or two to dry now that it's. I'm going to use a Q-tip. I'm going to dip the Q-tip in here and then just set it aside for a sec while I put the lid on. And I'm going to mostly dry this off. Okay? Like that. And we'll start with this. So I don't want too much taken away, because I can really clean it up. And I'm just going to rub this around and clean up those little dots and spots, particularly where I touched it with the brush. And kind of just wipe it out. You can get in there, you can kind of clean up as little or as much as you want. This is where I say doing it with a flat, it kind of absorbs, so it makes it hard, because it does kind of stain it a little bit. Which is not the end of the world if you get a stain, but it does make things a little difficult when you're trying to clean it up nice. Again, this is why I kept this out and separate, because there's no way I'd be able to get into these details of the wall when it's assembled. And unfortunately, it does tear the crap out of your Q-tip. So my Q-tip is no longer nice and pointy, but that's okay, because that's why I got lots of them. So there we go. That's a much nicer looking, cleaner wall now. And I'm going to use the other end of the Q-tip for the other wall. So let's grab my white spirits again. So if when you're doing this you wind up going through 3 or 4 Q-tips, that's all right. That's what they're for. But the important thing is you get in there and get rid of that. Get rid of all your smudges and stuff like that. Now, if you've gone and really done a big mess on there, that's okay, because you can go in there and clean it completely out with the white spirit. Like I said, you can leave it as dirty as you want, you can clean it up as much as you want. It's all up to you and what you want to, portray in your build. I just want to clean up most of it on our highlighted edges and leave it in the little nooks and crannies, and get rid of my little dots that are left from when I touched it with the brush. That's my purpose here. Clean those edges up nice and clean. finally we got our last piece, our little shaft that's going to run across there. Clean this up. And there we go. That's done. Let's throw that out. Now let's get our little piece off of here. Okay. Now, looking at our wall, this is shaped like this. This guy is supposed to go, you got to pay attention to his orientation. This is going to go like this. This is not a circular hole, it's got a flat edge on it. So we got to find that on here and line that up. Just turn it around until it kind of fits in. Oh, almost had it. Where's my flat edge? Looks like it's right there. Oh, but I've got a parting seam interfering with it. That's why he doesn't want to go in his home. It's got a little parting seam. It is a tight fit, I'll give it that. There we go. I don't even need to glue it because that's such a tight fit. Now the parting seam is probably going to interfere with his fitment on the other side too. That might be an issue. Let's see. Let's get this all lined up here. First thing I'm going to try is get him, you know, he goes in no problem. Just get that pushed in there. It's such a tight fit that it goes in no problem. Let's get this wall lined up on there. There we go. Kind of snapped in. There we go. We've got our wall in. It's popping out just a little bit, but that's okay. Let's get some glue on him. Give that a little bit of a squeeze. And I'm actually going to grab a clip. It doesn't fit. There we go. That'll hold it there because I need to hold it back here. I'm actually going to grab a bigger clip to hold this. It doesn't want to. Of course this won't hold worth of beans. Let's try this one. This one doesn't put enough pressure on it. It does there. But not up here. That works there. Sometimes it's about getting creative with your clips. Sometimes that's all it is. I mean, these clips just don't quite. There we go. Okay, we're gonna let that sit because that's done. This is finished. Okay, so with this all done, that's done for this page. Step 5 and 6 are done, except for our decals, which I'm going to take my highlighter so I can come back later as I'm making sure I've got everything done. I'm just going to kind of do this so that jumps out at me. Okay, let's go on to our next page. Oh, fuselage time. But we're not quite ready for that, are we? We're not quite ready for our fuselage. D1 and D2. Oh, this is finally I get to grab my D. You guys know when I was going through in part 1, I was a little disappointed. I only get to grab my D once. I only grabbing my D once throughout this whole build. These two pieces. Let's get this off of here. Let's get my clamp out of the way. Get this off of the sprue. This one should be free now. There we go. And one more. There. All right. Two main fuselage halves. With lots of nubs to clean. It is nice that we're going to have a piece to put on to cover our separation right there. That is a nice little thing. Because, you know, that's always, at least for me anyway, that's always a big problem to clean. Those nubs, and to clean up the seam line on airplanes. But it looks like Great West Hobby, or Great Wall Hobby, has done a pretty good job at putting our nubs in spots that are not going to be seen. For example, this spot here, I don't even know if I need to keep these tabs. This looks like a cap goes on the end of the tail, and they've put a nub right in there. That's good. Here we go, another little tab with a nub. Side and never seen. Obviously, we're on the inside of the wing root here. And just on the inside of this little tab, this is like a really minor one right here. Very minor. And of course, they don't have any along the bottom of the front here. So that's really nice. Same with this side, no nubs here. Just one right here. But this might be part of the wing also on the inside, so probably never going to be seen. That is really nice. They've really thought this out when they were thinking of where to put the nubs. The attachment points. Very well done. Very well done. But like I said, I don't know exactly. These tabs I might be able to just clip right off. These other ones up front are going to be underneath. But I'm still going to use my razor file to get these smooth, just because. There we go, nice and smooth. Done. Okay, so with all that work done, this should be ready to come apart now. Our wheel bay finished and glued and done. So we're going to take this side. This guy goes in like this. I've got this nice little outline, so in theory it should just drop in like this. It sits like that, nice and perfect. Can't really ask for better than that as far as the fit goes. Fits just like that. Glue time. Glue around all the edges. It doesn't really sit right against the bottom here. There's a little bit of an edge. It's lifting off, but I think I can get it so it's flush. I don't think it's really necessary though that it sits flush against that, because we do have to consider the other half going down, and we have to consider our cockpit. Cockpit goes in somewhere in here. I say somewhere because there isn't any. Okay, we have a little hole right here, right there. Okay, see that hole there? Right there. And we've got little pins sticking out here and here on the front. So there's our guide. There's our guide. Just like that. Okay, and then this goes up flush against the top here. Like that. Just like that. I think what I want to do, okay, we also have our guide here. This little section here, right there, that lines up with this edge here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to scrape my black paint. Remember, I painted this black because I thought you might be able to see it, but obviously you can't. So I'm just going to scrape that away so that the glue can do its thing. I also don't have this exactly flush in my assembly, so I'm just going to file this down so this is a nice, perfectly straight edge to go against the wall there. That's a bit better. That's nice and smooth now. And I'm just going to make sure the same is on this side. If when I use my file I'm taking away my paint on the edges too, that tells me it's nice and flush. So I shouldn't have any issues when I get to assembling on the other side, putting the two halves together. Of course, it's important to do a dry fit first to make sure you're going to be able to get everything assembled. I'll line up my little tab in there. Okay. And we're going to put our other half together. Let's try and get this lined up here. Get you back in your spot. Tab lined up there. There we go. That actually fits really nice. And everything else lines up perfect. Which means I did something right. So I'll have to hold that. I'll have to squeeze that together a little bit. But it's not bad. It's really good actually. It's looking good. Okay. So if we can do the same thing. Glue this in like this. Put some glue in there. Glue in there. And get our cockpit kind of glued in. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in the holes of all the pins with the thicker glue. To just fill them, cover them right over if I can. That ensures a nice, good, solid bond, and that pin goes into that hole. Do for this edge, because I can't get in there to glue this after it's in there. Glue that, put some glue on there. Okay. That lined up. That lined up. Oh, it lines up so beautifully. Okay, we're going to take this. Tape it nice and tight. Many spots. Anything on the bottom wants to come apart? Oh, why not? Why not? Now we've got other spots. It's nice that they've got these as separate, but we need to make sure it's all going to stay together. So I'm going to add glue here and here and here. I don't want these coming apart ever. Okay, I think we're doing good here. I'm going to add a little more here and here. I don't want to rely only on the pins for the strength and rigidity. That is a good bond. That's a good starting point. That on the nose here. That's going to be covered anyway, so it doesn't matter at all. Yeah, really. Back here. I'm really impressed. This has really gone together like flawlessly. It's really, really well done. So that's that. So we have, it mentions 07. We'll put 07 on the panel here, and then that's where we're going to leave it, and we're going to let this dry. Okay, where's O? Where's my O? O, 7. This guy here. Conveniently primed. He's just a random little access panel that they have. Detailed up for me to go right here. Just kind of sits in there. I want him flush though. This is a tight fit. It's a tight fit, and now I can't get it out. There we go. Where'd my file go? I want to just do the edges a little bit in the back, just to help get that in there properly. And then we're going to call it a day. Get this guy glued in there, and then we're going to say done for today. There we go. Now the fit isn't quite so tight, and I can squeeze it down in there. So a little bit of glue all the way around him. Press them in there. The glue also helps. It acts like a lubricant to help slide it in there and get it flush. That's nice and flush though. And we're going to call that done. We're going to call that done, guys. That's it for today. I'm going to let this cure, let that dry. Yeah, we're just going to let this dry, let that glue cure up nice and hard and solid before we start playing around with anything else. Okay, so close up the glue. Don't forget to close your glue. I want to thank you guys. Thank you for watching. Thanks for all the support. Thank you for the comments, the likes, and also if you haven't already, hit subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything to subscribe. That would be really awesome. Helps me out a lot. Thanks, guys. Anyway, guys, this is where we're going to end it for today. Going to let this all dry up and cure and all that fun stuff. And we'll see you all in the next one.